Welcome, everyone. My name is Herschel Daniels. I am the Managing Director of the African Diaspora Directorate, and I am also the founding chairman and current chairman of Friends of the African Union. The Friends of the African Union is a civil society organization created under the call of Ambassador Ali, who in 2011, on December 16th, 2011, had a meeting of the African diaspora in the United States, in which I had people from Senegal and the African diaspora attend the meeting. And the thing that we noticed in the meeting is the B100, the mayors, the Black elected officials, and who was not at that meeting. And so in the following month, on December 16th, the following month, January 16th, 2012, on MLK Day, we created Friends of the African Union. And with the idea of Friends of the African Union was and is to be an African diaspora organization in concert with the 55 members of the African Union that represents the 1.3 billion people on the African continent. And that the 55 million people of African descent and their families in the United States are part of the 300 million of us worldwide who, as a people of African descent, that we needed to, in America and in the global African diaspora, needed to have a connection vehicle, and that the Friends of the African Union would be that vehicle that would work within the United States through the U.S. State Department, in which we had the meeting with the U.S. State Department in the U.S. Business Summit that year. We were a participant. And because I had previously served under His Excellency David Morrow, who was the senior honorary consul from the Republic of Guinea to the United States in Cleveland, Ohio, that my experience of living on the African continent in Egypt, where as an oceanographic tech working on a contract with NOAA with the Egyptian government, and my previous experience on visiting the continent as a member of the US military living in Europe, that combined with my going overseas starting as a teenager with family in Canada and Jamaica and around the Americas, that it was the creation of an organization that would take advantage of all that was upcoming in 2012 and the upcoming meeting of the African Union with the diaspora and setting the 5 agenda items for it. The upcoming meeting that was to take place on Agenda 2063, which was to be new, that was going to be a 50-year future unification of Africa based on the 50-year history from 1963 to 2013, with the understanding that Africa had made a choice between the Monrovia and the Casablanca group of that day, and now Africa was making a new choice. And in that new choice in the future in Agenda 2063, to blend it with the upcoming 2015 creation of the Sustainable Development Goals through 2030, that it offered an opportunity for those of us in the African diaspora in the United States of America and our allies to create solutions that would meet the needs of current, at the time, 1.2 billion people, today 1.3 billion people. And that would let us leverage the assets of the richest Black folk in the world, those in terms of GDP, those in America who earned $1.25 trillion pre-COVID, and who on the continent earn less than $3 trillion for 1.3 billion people. And so it's played out to that, and now in 2021 that the various components of that vision of 2012 is now in place to be brought together through August 25th. And these calls through UNESCO, which has been agreed that UNESCO would be one of the agency partners in creating this solution. And today we're going to talk about a delayed subject of health. But that's who I am. The managing director of the African Diaspora Directorate, chairman of Friends of the African Union. On this call, we have a variety of members of the Friends of the African Union and allies. We have Ms. Bernice Atchison, who is from
I hear his voice.
FAU Chamber. The chairman of the African Diaspora Directorate has just joined us. We have when he joined us, I assume that that the executive director of the African Diaspora Directorate will join, which the African Diaspora Directorate was created to be the holding company of memorandums of understandings and participation through civil society and individuals in that 300 million person global African diaspora. And it was created as a doing business as a function of Brotherhood and Sisterhood International, Blacks and Whites Uniting Communities, which through 2018 ran group homes in Maryland that had the audited financials and the 20-year background that made it a good choice for Friends of the African Union to partner with it, Sons and Daughters of Africa, the UNIACL, and the Black Wall Street International. What that did was to create an enterprise that would be able to then other organizations such as the World Conference of Mayors or the Historic Black Towns and Settlements or other nonprofit organizations or public enterprises such as the Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services Agent, which is our public partner in Hamilton County, Ohio, or the town of Fort Coffee, which is our public partner in Oklahoma, to create joint operations that become a win-win situation. So we're going to have a discussion today about health, but first, let's go down the line and let everybody introduce themselves. First, we'll ask Carolyn Kennedy, to introduce herself and introduce the chairman of the African Diaspora Directorate. Then we'll go to Dr. Aaron Krantz and his guests, and then we'll come back to FAU with Bernice Atchison and our host on this call, Edfu.
And for those of you who can, if you'll show your video, we are streaming. So unless you show your video, the only thing that shows is your name. Your photo does not show. All it shows is your name. So
okay.
Just to let you know.
Hello, everybody. This is Carolyn Kennedy. and I'm Executive Director of the Africa Diaspora Directorate. I have been with the organization since 2019, where we got started after we retired from the group home business in the Washington, D.C. area after 20 years. I'm a social worker by training with a master's degree in business management and administration of social work and social work agencies. I've been involved with the County Department of Social Services as the head person in charge for 8 years. I've also been in charge of mental health treatment facilities in Washington, D.C., as well as adoption agency for children. And because I saw a need, I graduated into providing homes for children and youth for the last 20 years, where we serve developmentally disabled children in Maryland and DC. So I'm delighted to be with you and to be of your service as the Executive Director of Africa Diaspora Directorate. And with me here is Dr. Kofi Ajapong. Kofi, unmute yourself and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Kofi Ajapong, formerly, originally I'm from Ghana, West Africa. I came in the country to study at Temple University in 1962, and I went to Howard University Law School in 1968. And while in school, I formed 2 nonprofit organizations, and I worked with a nonprofit organization. And later on, I went to work with Jack Davis Export and Import Commodity Exchange on Wall Street, New York. And then I worked with a law firm. And then I went to Ghana, I formed a corporation there. And it's a struggle out there in Africa to follow a corporation. But I work with the State Department, State Transport Corporation for Ghana. I traveled across West Africa. And I came back in 1987. I joined the Corporation Council in DC government. And I met Kennedy. I formed the Marcus Garvey Academy charter school. It progressed for a while and failed for mismanagement of the money. And then I met Kennedy. We grouped to form this Brotherhood and Sisterhood International group home, which we did very well. The Black managers were very mean. They thought we were making tons of money. When in fact, we were spending our own money, over $300,000 to run it, and they never refunded it to us. So we closed it and we joined HESHA with this program, the African Diaspora Directorate, and I'm the chairman of it. So basically, I'm an accountant and a lawyer, and I'm very serious when it comes to dealing with African Americans, because they are the only people who can redeem Africa, but they don't have the mind. They don't pay attention to it, and therefore it's going to take time. Since 1970, it took me 50 years to meet a person like Hesha Daniel. All the people I've met are just zombies or whatever. They do what they want, not serious. But anyhow, we got work to do, and let's do it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kofi. I appreciate the compliment. David, you want to introduce yourself and your organizations, and then your guests?
Sure thing. I do have a vocal cord disability. If anyone needs me to repeat anything, just stop me. I'm David Eric Grants. I'm a retired doctor of public health. I say retired, but I'm currently affiliated with around 8 public health organizations. I serve as Vice President for Health for the World Conference of Mayors. About a month ago, a bunch of us went over to Dakar for Senegal, the return conference. I was accompanied by Dr. Kabo Mendy, who I will introduce you to momentarily. We decided to work together, and at the conference on Thursday morning, we devoted the entire morning to healthcare. I presented on the Partners in Health community worker model. I chair the Philadelphia chapter of Partners in Health. Dr. Kofi, I will send Temple your regards. I'm only a few hundred yards away from Broad Street as we speak. Yeah, and in addition, Dr. Kabo spoke on the new set of healthcare systems he's creating in Gambia, all over the country, and he'll elaborate on those. Toward the end of the healthcare session, Herschel zoomed in from Cincinnati and presented. Dr. Mendy asked me after the Dakar conference wrapped to go with him to Gambia and help him for a week on the ground. And I did that, and it was certainly a very effective week. We went all over the country. We met with members of community health centers who have agreed to work with us. And some of the members have asked me to share models that they thought would be useful and helpful with the projects they are starting up. So without further ado, I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Mendy, and he can tell you all of the wonderful things he and his group are doing in Gambia. Dr. Mendy.
Hi, good evening, Gabu Mendy, Dr. Gabu Mendy, practicing physician in New Orleans, originated from Gambia. We are on the path of creating an health infrastructure in the Gambia called the Gambia Underdog Program for Health. This is a network of primary care and secondary care facilities linked with, for service delivery, linked with an academic, two academic campuses for allied health and medical, postgraduate medical training to expand healthcare, workforce development, and more important, create the infrastructure for the long-term transformation of healthcare in Gambia. I had a good fortune of partnering with David, as he mentioned, Dr. Aaron Grants, as he mentioned at the World Council of Mayors participation as part of the return, encouraging African diasporans to come back to the continent and work and build whatever, whether it's in healthcare, in business, IT, the technology, agriculture, education, etc., etc. It's indeed a pleasure to be part of this conversation. Hopefully, bring out more of what are possible to be done, not only in healthcare but also in education and technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think you'll find it most interesting where we are coming together in this coalition. I would ask Bernice if you would hold for a minute. We are going to hear from Sister Mary, who was part of the conversation with the UNESCO group creating today what we call, as I said, a working name of the Marshall Plan for Africa. Mary, you want to give a 411 on what it's all about? Well, who you are, what what the participation, and what's happening.
Thank you so much, Hasho, and thank you for attending. It was a hard-heated debate, as you could see. We had different members, and we are lucky today to have a representation from the Africa Development Bank, who has committed, by the way, to, because the challenge was how do we also create the what you would call a capital creation model that would really address the issues on the continent. So that's why I had to get Hasho in, especially on what he's working on in as far as what you would consider domestic jumpstart initiative for the bigger picture, because following different quantifications, statistics that show what you would call a deficit in infrastructure on the continent, we are talking about, like, if least would be around 10 to 15 trillion, definitely not an equivalent figure, that which I can't blame Hasho for, because when he was compiling this, he never knew that COVID is going to hit a lot, you know, but at least it's a drop, and he thought of the international development. So a credit to him on that. And everybody appreciated his contribution on that. So pretty much we are trying to see if at least two areas would be driving force for Africa. Education, in as far as capital development, then job creation, which is agricultural development, and manufacturing capacity building. And then we know that actually one of the presenter hit me with the question that the Ibrahim Mo Foundation, which is promoting good governance on the continent in its own way, gives usually an award of, I think, $5 million US. And he was like, well, that is not even equivalent to what we give when it comes to Peace Prize, which is 1.5. So why can't we tap such kind of people on the continent to be part of the plan, which I agree with, because if it is amount of money which is seated there just waiting for one leader who is going to be SPAB for the whole period, actually, I would say President Alan Salif was the recipient of that as a female, and of which, by the way, Mr. Hasho, although I have never said, Alan Salif was a recipient of Watch Democracy Grow Award for being the first female to be democratically elected, being the first female to relinquish power peacefully, which is a good model to go for. So they were trying to brainstorm how we can incorporate all those to be part of the bigger picture. So again, that goes to what Hasho is trying to fight for. We are like, maybe that would be a good domestic base for a bigger kind of German Marshall Plan, although the conditions are different, the reasons were different, but the issue is that economic recovery which was needed, it's also needed for Africa. The migration challenge of Eastern Europeans to US and other European countries is also an issue for Africa. Social stability in as far as insecurities among African youth and they being used by the negative forces, the Al-Shabaabs and so on, it's a concern for international development. So bearing all those factors, we were like education, health, at least should be the driving force. And usually work with Coordinate Watch Democracy Grow activities here. And we kind of charged ourselves together with the UNESCO and academians and other what I would call friends of Africa, former professionals who have ever worked on the continent, like USAID, who know the deficiency and feel they want to give back to the community in as far as promoting such kind of an initiative. Those are usually the people, and we are still welcoming anybody who would be interested into that kind of hard, voluntary, but worth for human cause. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mary. And let me make a point that you may not know, that she, as an ex-president, is actually embedded in the U.S. State Department for the funding that I was talking about. She's on the board of the funding for $100 billion in U.S. foreign assistance and aid, of which currently the Biden administration inherited a $5 billion commitment through the African Development Bank from that funding. Under the Trump administration, it was 60 billion. They're asking for the Biden administration to increase it to 100 billion starting 1 October. In any case, that funding is available to us right now. And one of the things that we want to talk about is the Gambia and how we make this happen on this first round. But let's still do a station identification. Let's go to Sister Bernice Atchison and then Elder Cox. Ms. Atchison, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. Life experience has brought me here. I am Bernice C. Atchison of Jemison, Alabama. I am the president of the Friends of the African Union, FAU Smart Wise Reinvestment Coalition of Chilton County. In 1976, I was appointed as a jury commissioner by Governor George Wallace. I held that position for 13 years. I was also appointed by the Secretary of State, Don Siegelman, as a deputy registrar, a position which I held for 8 years. In 2004, I was called to testify in the Pickford 1 case. I represented the peoples in our county who had been left out of the lawsuit. This became a quest, a journey for justice for 66,000 denied farmers. I am a Pickford 1 B legacy farmer claimant. I own my own farm, and I have 3 daughters who also individually own their farm. And we are working collectively to ensure our family legacy. I am a member of the World Council of Mayors. I do critical care and home care for people in need, both medically or mentally. This work allows the peoples I care for to live their lives at home with dignity in their own home. I am the secretary of the Rising Star Association in our county. We have about 200 members whereby we aid and assist in time of sorrow and death. I am the secretary of our church for 35 years. I am a substitute teacher for the county school system. I'm an advocate for our people. Thank you.
Yes, and the court, and I want to mention that the court appointed Bernice to represent the 66,000 farmers who were rejected by the USDA. And it's our contention in FAU that the Secretary of Agriculture needs to revisit that decision through the funding that he currently has at his discretion. And carrying along with that same line is Rod Bradshaw, another farmer, who I'm going to ask to state his case with the USDA. He, like Bernice, is a Pickford 1 farmer who are named by individual, not as part of a general class. and holds a suit in the courts with the USDA today. Rod, the floor is yours.
I'm Rod Bradshaw. I'm in Southwest Kansas. I am a Pickford 1 Track B class member. I farm in the state of Kansas. I raise wheat, milo, and cattle. And I have had a case before Judge Paul Friedman for 18 plus years. I went to full trial in 2018. It still remains unresolved. Judge Friedman has had that case in his hands. We had a trial in 2018. That trial concluded in August of 2018. Judge Friedman got all the information he needed by October of 2018, and that case still remains. And so we don't have a decision on it, put it like that. I have several discriminatory complaints at USDA. They also remain unresolved. And I am currently battling with USDA and others to bring an end to all of this nonsense that's going on with Black farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. And let me state the case without breaking any confidential information, that when we submitted to USDA a plan of action in April, we named only one farmer, Rod Bradshaw, in our demonstration to say to the Agriculture Secretary, out of his $1.010 billion, that $60 million needs to be spent to set models for solutions. And in Rod's case, he has a $19.2 million suit against the USDA that can be documented from the time of the filing of the suit nearly 20 years ago. And the economic damage caused by the USDA. Now, the bad part is that you have lawyers who are being paid by the court to represent Black farmers. And in Rod's case, the law firm seems to be more interested in settlement at whatever cost because they get paid by the court. And so they have racked up billing that may run nearly $2 million. Whereas in Bernice's case, she's representing 66,000 farmers like Rod who got rejected. And there was no legal representation assigned. And so when we said to the USDA and asked the question on June 9th, what is happening, we still have not received a reply. But the President of the United States on day one, for all departments of the government of the United States, said that within 200 days, you shall have a plan of action that addresses people of African descent, Native Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans, and Oceanic Americans, as well as rural communities. And that's August 8th. We have a plan of action that for the Black Folks Plan for Black Farmers, but we're also determining the Black Folks Plan for Black Health and the Black Folks Plan as a restorative justice program, but it's also reparative of the relationship between the United States and Africa. And so that's going to be in part our discussion tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to have a discussion on the human rights, public safety, but tonight's going to be sort of a wrap up because of what just happened in the United Nations. Today, the United States acted with the ex-colonial powers and stalled the vote on the permanent forum on people of African descent. It was scheduled for today. And since 2014, this work in progress, and the United States under the Biden administration just helped kill the vote today. They have not killed the measure, but we still have until September 13th. But today, the United States definitely worked against 30 million Black voters in America, 55 million of us here. The United States has some questions to answer based on what the president has said that he's for and the actions of the mission of the United Nations in the United Nations General Assembly today. But let us go on, because what we're doing is that we are holding the United States accountable for its actions in the United Nations, where the president has said that we are back. Okay, that the president has said we are back in leadership around human rights in the United Nations. Well, when they had the meeting earlier this year with China and that they accused China of human rights violations with the Uyghurs, China responded, what about your position with people of African descent? What about George Floyd? What about other issues? And so in the George Floyd case, American justice has acted.
Excuse me, Herschel. I apologize, but you did not allow us to finish introducing the guests. I have a special guest from Gambia, and there are other people here. Could you do that first before we proceed, please?
Yep, I was just about to do a segue into introducing the rest who are on the phone. Okay, Elder Cox, and then you can introduce your guest now.
We'll wait until, okay, well, thank you. Well, Elder Cox, I defer to you. Thank you so much. I always, of course, uplift the women so that my legacy will also be uplifted. So please let me defer to you, Elder Cox.
Thank you. I am Anyanu Cox, and my title, Elder and Prophet, goes along with the work that I do. I am an Emotional Emancipation Circle licensed certified facilitator. The Community Healing Network, which I just learned, I received a grant of $500,000. I was trained under Community Healing Network and Association of Black Psychologists. The work, their whole focus is on defying the lie of white superiority and embracing the truth of Black humanity. And so it's built on the horrors of the My Alpha, and it gives us training to be able to work in safe spaces with people of African descent around healing the trauma, mental, emotional, and as epigenetics has shown, also genetic. And so I do that with several different models under my own organization, which is called Safe Healthy Spaces Kansas LLC. And we also do work with those who have approached me about what about us, we want to heal as well. So we do some occasionally allyship work as well. I'm one of 15 members of the 400 Years of African American History Commission, which was put in place in 2018 under Public Law 115-102. Our term was to be up in 2020, but we were extended to 2021, and now we're extended to 2022 and have been given funding. I am an astute elder with the African American Council of Elders, Wichita, South Central Kansas, and the Institute Elder with the National Black Council of Elders, which I invite you all to, anyone here, to attend. We have first Sunday meetings and also the third Sunday of the month. Part of that National Black Council of Elders, we actually conduct Emotional Emancipation Circle, so you get a chance to experience it. I'm also the founding minister for Reconciliation Ministry Without Walls. founder, senior minister, and prophet. Prophet because I was called by God to be a prophet, but then also because as a person of African descent, as so many that we've heard about, George Washington Carver and Harriet Tubman, I'm a seer. And so I've seen some things coming down the pipe with the United States that has concerned me for about 20 years. So I get on calls and attend events looking for some answers as to what will become, what not become, but what is the future of people of African descent in light of what's happening with the Western world and Asia. And I'm also sworn in as a member of the World Conference of Mayors and the Historic Black Towns and Settlements Alliance, Inc. I'm a holistic and integrative medicine practitioner. I'm really a fan of that versus Western medicine. United States, last I checked, it may have changed. Maybe we've come up, but at one point we were number 30 in the world for healthy outcomes, which tells me we have a long way to go for anybody to even try to model what we do. And so some of my concerns and issues that have come out of my research around my visions, and I've already talked to Herschel a bit about this, and I look forward to other conversations around the Dodd-Frank Title II, China's AIIB bank that everybody but the United States, I understand, signed on almost their parallel system to SWIFT. The Chinese law enforcement in Africa, I understand they've already started moving police or some type of military thing into parts of Africa, the bail-ins, and Africa, the possibility of Africans' ownership of its own resources and assets so that it can stop borrowing from the Western world. So, and some of that may not be based on all fact, but I'm looking for some answers. Thank you.
Andrew?
Well, thank you so very much. I'm Andrew Williams Jr. I'm here in Los Angeles, California on the indigenous grounds of the Tongva people. So I think it's critically important that we acknowledge
Unmute, Andrew.
Thank you. I had a glitch on this side. Thank you. I'm Andrew Williams Jr. I'm here in Los Angeles, California. I'm on the land of the Tongva people, the indigenous people of North America. So I'm here representing my heritage among the Native Americans as well as Africans. I'm pleased to also represent the indigenous Africans in Ghana through the Easy Igbo Palace, to which I was inducted as a prince on August 1st of 2020. And in the Akan Kingdom on August 25th of 2020. But today I just want to stand aside and allow you to have the pleasure of meeting His Excellency Sharif Balde. So we are in fact dealing not just with problems and people, but powers and principalities. So I think it's critically important that we understand we have regional power on the African continent through the existing economic development regions. But with the introduction of the African Continental Free Trade Area, as Herschel says, we're now shifting, or we have shifted from an idea of nationalist countries arbitrarily created by the Berlin Conference to now moving towards a united continent. So His Excellency Sharif Balde, would you please introduce yourself as you're coming from the Gambia, but also a representative of ECOWAS. I think it's critically important that you be as full as you can in your introduction. Thank you.
Good evening from the Gambia. I am His Excellency Sharif Balde, diplomatic consultant appointed by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow. I am all about bringing much needed and due development to the entire continent of Africa, especially from all Africans within the diaspora or people of African origin. We want to make the two people, those living in Africa and those in the diaspora, to share their knowledge, resources, wealth, for the benefit of humanity. So we reject the idea of playing the ignorant game of thinking of only one's ethnicity or one's race. We as Africans and also as humanity originated from us, we are concerned about the development and the peace and justice for every human living on the planet. Civilization started in Africa and it will end here because all the resources that the world needs is available in Africa. The land that the world needs to grow enough food to serve the whole world, we have enough land in Africa. I'm glad there are very positive farmers in this platform, and we would urge them to try and organize and link with African farmers so that we get a better secured food security for all humanity. Africa has enough fresh water, has enough land, has enough resources. So all we need is to exchange the know-how, technology, and make the world a better place to live. Okay, we also urge all Africans or Americans or whatever of African origin outside the continent to organize mentoring and apprenticeship centers where, just like the American government takes Peace Corps and trains them, take them to Africa, but unfortunately, 90% of them, not a single one of them is of African origin. So the people of African origin are completely isolated out of this wonderful and very important operation. So why don't we organize one of such and make sure we entertain, we encourage our people to also come into such camps and then be sent to Africa to share their knowledge and their expertise and their technological knowledge that they have. We, just like Prince Yao just mentioned, we've just created a very young economic bloc, which could be the biggest economic bloc in the world. That is the Free African Trade Bloc. And we are going to have many free trade zones where institutions, companies, manufacturers would come into the continent and manufacture their goods there. And we welcome our people that have been long dispossessed. And I was even shocked to hear the recent incident that happened at the United Nations today. But let us not worry too much about it. We as a people, we could solve it. Let us get our people at work. Let us create these institutions. In the United States, we plan to put up a special headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, or Los Angeles, whereby every farmer, every industrialist, if you take up a space there, automatically. In the United States, we plan to put up a special headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, or Los Angeles, whereby every farmer, I am hearing every myself. Industrialist, if you take up a space there, automatically in the United States.
I think somebody's trying to record, sir.
But the session is already recorded, so there is no need. Or is it the FBI? I am a free man. I am in Africa. So I don't care anyone who wants to record what I say. These are things that are important for our people around the world.
So
This
is Herschel Daniels. So Your Excellency, this is Herschel Daniels.
Thank you.
So we have control of the call, and this is all being streamed. So people, so understand, we're not hiding any of our movements to what we're doing. And so this is being streamed to billions of people through Facebook as we talk. We're recording it for posterity, but anybody who wants to try to record it on their own, just go to Facebook. The link is put in there, okay, right now. So continue, Your Excellency.
All right. So they can make all official diplomatic blogs, but they cannot stop the people from interacting with each other from the continent to the other countries around the world. We can freely interact and we can exchange our ideas, our resources, technologies that we control. So the greatest fear now we have about this free African trade bloc is what you are just suffering now in the United States. That is the hacking, the technological banditry that is happening. If we don't prepare ourselves and our experts of our people of African origin in the diaspora doesn't help us, they are going to cripple our free African trade bloc, which we want to do. And we need to mentor people to prepare cadres to come over to the continent and help secure these most important resources. Because now we are in a global village. So if we just cannot maintain the parameters of our global connectivity, then there's no point. We are creating these wonderful spaces where institutions, enterprises from America or from around the world could interact with Africans, and we have a smoother exchange of trade, resources, farms, and everything. We have everything and we are open to everyone. So thank you very much for allowing me to talk too much. I'm sorry, I just registered recently. So looking forward and learning a lot from the speakers I have had so far with long accolades of achievements, which I admire very much. But for me, my only achievement is that I love this continent and I love humanity. And I want peace, but guaranteed by justice. Because if we don't have justice, there can be no peace. Thank you very much.
And thank you. A couple points of information people need to know about the Gambia. One, the African Union hosts its human rights infrastructure is located in the Gambia. And that's one of the reasons why we, Friends of the African Union, the African Diaspora Directorate, and allies have focused on the Gambia because we use a human rights tool called the Universal Periodic Review as our tool that's embedded in our corporate social responsibility based solutions that are involved in the African Development Bank as well as the United States through the Community Reinvestment Act, that we shaped a financial instrument that last week a public company is in discussions with us about creating a spark for each country here in the United States that would then provide the ability to provide financing through already established Federal Reserve processes in our public-private partnership promotion to the State Department. And the reason I'm being sort of opaque on that is just for that reason is that we are waiting to see what the Biden administration is actually going to do, or is it just rhetoric in terms of people of African descent or not? If one was to take the actions by today in the United Nations, one would think that it's rhetoric, but that is not necessarily so based on day one, Executive Order 13985. And so we're going to see if they cross the T's, dot the I's in the implementation. Meanwhile, we will be working with all of you on this to put together 1+1 so that if the government is not shown that it is willing to work with people of African descent in the United States who have an agenda around creating a permanent form in the United Nations that represents all 1.6 billion of us worldwide that has some power, that has some standing, that has some capacity, as His Excellency talked about, to provide in the Sustainable Development Goals a representation by being 1/5 of the world's population. That if that is not a goal of the United States, it's better that we know that now.
So Herschel, if I may, I understand today's topic is health. I apologize for the late entry, but Ms. Fule Chi just entered. She's the CEO of Agri4 Development. And since today's topic is on health, I would like to, at your next opportunity, have her an opportunity to introduce herself and her organization. Thank you.
Well, let's make that so. And then Dr. Mendy, if he wants the floor afterwards for discussion on what we discussed in the Gambia, then let's do so. Your introduction, Andrew.
Well, thank you, Ms. Fule Chi. You're the best person I know to introduce yourself. So please do so.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Greetings, everyone. My name is Afula Chibeme. I'm originally from Cameroon, currently residing in Montreal, Canada, with my 5 kids and my husband. My background is in agricultural engineering. I created an organization called the Association of Agripreneurs for Development, registered here in Canada, still in the process of registering in Cameroon, but we have quite a handful, about 25 members in Cameroon. What we do is we promote agricultural entrepreneurship among the youths, because in the past I have trained agricultural entrepreneurs, and they did not have resources to actually establish their businesses and expand them. And so my role, the role of this organization, is to pool resources to support these youths so that they don't remain the quarter hopeless. So that's it.
Well, thank you so much. Before you leave, though, can you tell us about the importance of health? Because that's today's topic, and how what you're doing can empower people to actually grow and consume, and also better plan their own diets and meals. As I understand it, agripreneurs is also important, very intrigued about providing good health for our people worldwide. Is that correct?
Not quite. we have very little to do with health. What we are mostly concerned about is food security.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'll turn it back over to you, Herschel, because as you know, food security is the basis of good health. But thank you so much, Herschel. So
thank you.
Now. Yes.
Well, thank you. And we definitely want to talk to you about the National Policy Alliance in Canada, which is part of our family of organizations that in alliance with the World Conference of Mayors and the National Black Towns and Settlements Alliance. And again, we have the National Policy Alliance that's operational in Canada. And I'd like to get together with you to have that discussion along with that and our First Peoples Alliance in Canada.
Thank you.
All right. And so you're involved in doing, establishing bilateral relations between Canada and Cameroon?
Is that what you want me to do?
I was just asking. Yes. Okay.
Be careful what you ask for.
well, you know, Cameroon is in part like Ethiopia right now. I'm stepping very carefully because in either case, I've visited northern Cameroon in decades ago, and when I lived in Egypt, as long as I kept my mouth quiet, they thought I was Nur. Okay, you know, I'm looking for people who have relationships to deal with in either case coming about. Okay, so me, you, and Andrew will have further discussions. I appreciate it. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time. Thank you very much for being here. And I think you'll find the conversation interesting relative to health and agriculture. Dr. Mendy, did you want to take the floor to have further discussions on what we talked about in the Gambia, or did you want me to lead? All right, then I guess I'm going to lead in this. So just so everybody understands, we are basing our healthcare infrastructure push on a system that currently provides for the United States support for 9 million American veterans. It's the operating system that operates the U.S. Veterans Administration. Okay, and so that software, the whole idea is to create around that software a infrastructure that would include communications, computing, connectivity, control, command, and countermeasures, okay, that are very important in today's worldwide insecure system that provide embedded countermeasures along with e-commerce solutions that are able to be built off of technologies such as U.S. patent number 5577042, but also open source technologies such as Open Signaling System 7, which is SS7, is the operating system for the telephone system around the world. And so the Vista A is a technology that currently operates the Veterans Administration System. And so what that allows us to do is that a system that we can be assured over the next decade will have contracts of over $5 billion as the Veterans Administration changes from a open source established network to a commercial network. And that commercial network in 2030 is supposed to take over the system. But meanwhile, they're going to spend $5 billion to maintain the legacy open source system, which we are adapting to meet current standards. And so the whole idea in the Gambia is to set up a planned unit development. And in that planned unit development is to have 10,000 Americans who would look to retire or live in the Gambia, in which their retirement benefits, pensions, or medical care is such that a dollar spent there gets them $4 worth of level of care. And so that system then, in building up the healthcare infrastructure and support and service infrastructure, would provide a 10-to-1 employment ratio for Gambians to that population. But that the key to this is that together they would grow a new generation of technologists who would be responsible for not only the software that we're talking about, the legacy software, but upgrading the legacy software to current standards and to taking it a step further And so that it becomes a win-win situation in building this infrastructure. That is the framework of this idea of creating a Gambian secured plan unit development, in which we would propose to house a university level educational program in international trade, nonprofit management, healthcare, secure information, digital systems. Okay.
Wait.
All right. So I'm going to stop there and take any questions. All right. No questions on that. I
have raised my hand. I have raised my hand.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Your Excellency.
Yeah, just trying to elaborate on this very important point that you've just mentioned. I think personally, with the help of the American International University present in the Gambia right now, I am working with a resident neurologist lecturing in that American International University to build a university teaching hospital. And I've already almost secured financing from a financing group in Atlanta, Georgia, of which I am nominated as a financier to represent them throughout the continent, St. Pete Financing Group, based in Atlanta, Georgia. So we are already getting a first-class university teaching hospital for the American International University in the Gambia. And we're just trying to secure the land very close to the university. And this is very interesting. I'm also involved in building over 10,000 affordable housing for Gambians. So I believe when you want to make your veterans come home here and feel at home, I think you will have to also think of using those funds to get our locals well and secured housing, because or else it would turn out to be like bringing them in, making them more comfortable than the locals, and you would have a South Africa, Zimbabwe scenario, which I think we would not like to entertain. But we really laud your efforts in trying to bring these medical facilities of excellence and special housing for your veterans to be comfortable in the Gambia. Everyone is welcome in the Gambia, but please try and consider and chip in something, subsidize for what we can improve the infrastructure of our country. Just a single storm this year has destroyed homes right across the country and killed over 11 people, which is not common to Gambia, due to bad and poor infrastructure. We hope you will also think of considering how you would use that well-funded institution to chip in a little. Thank you very much.
So, Your Excellency, it was always the intention on the plan unit development to provide the necessary support at a 10-to-1 ratio for those Gambians who would be working in this infrastructure.
Thank you.
And so in terms of the planning and multi-tier structure was just that, so that you would overbuild the teaching facilities so to provide the healthcare for 100,000 plus Gambians as part of the program. So it would not be built just for the Americans, but it would also be built for the Gambians. So the whole idea is to put in an infrastructure by building for the Americans that provide the country for the infrastructure for the country based on work that we did when we had a discussion with the World Conference of Mayors. So the whole idea is to connect up to an infrastructure that, as you might know, the government made a claim and ownership of the online cellular service, and that we look to be able to support that ownership and use that as a basis for the health information system for the country.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
So the technology, some of it has been built in on the continent in terms of the software that's used in mobile applications, and others of it has been built here domestically. And what we're working on is putting together the memorandum of understanding so that next week we would be able to do that. I do that based on my experience in working in Naval Telecommunications System Integration Command 01, previously having nearly a half a century experience around electronics. So that's the plan of action. For everybody, I put my email and my phone number in the chat. Okay, so that if they want to call me on a follow-up conversation to this, like I would want with you, we look forward to having that conversation with you and Andrew and associates.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And the other part that we want to emphasize is that this is the component parts of all that we're talking about is happening individually in silos. And the whole idea in the diaspora, that was why Dr. Kofi and Carolyn did their transition in 2018 to 2019 in the African Diaspora Directorate, so that it's waiting to move forward expeditiously. We've talked to the new ambassador from the African Union to the United States, and so we picked August 25th as a date that we can come together in Washington. Elder Cox, in that is one of the things is that bringing that 400-year commission and the people on your board and others together and conversations leading up to that meeting. And I look forward to making that happen.
Well, we can talk about that and I can share some things with you off recording.
Right, I understand. Okay, you have my number and I look forward to that conversation.
And I'll put mine there as well. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else have anything that they want to bring to the table? All right. I'm not going to hold you because time is valuable. Until somebody invents a time machine, you can't recover it. All right. And so with that being said, I would ask Elder Cox if you would give us some words as we go among our way.
I just took a bite of apple. Okay, give me a second here. So let's just come together in mind and heart and spirit as we say, Father, Mother God, our Father, our Mother, our everything, God, no matter where we stand in our belief system religiously, spiritually, we're all connected. We're connected in spirit from person to person, from spirit to our ancestors to spirit to nature. We're all connected. We are all one. Truly, we are all children of Mother Africa. We give thanks for this gathering, for the information that is shared, for those who work so diligently in their own areas to bring forth a better good and a higher way of living, a greater way of living, a higher quality of living for not only people of African descent, but people around the planet. We ask for your grace and your mercy and your intervention in these affairs so that we can move forward beyond where we have been these last 400, 600, 800,000 years. We ask for health and well-being, financial resources. Put out a call today for Africa to take hold of and reclaim all of its resources, that it can be possible for it to once again own its mines and its waters and land, and that the hands that have held it for millennia can release it, if not by their own willingness, by your force in your hand. And we give thanks for all these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen and amen.
Ashe.
And amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
And thank you all. This call is now ended.